It's starting to feel a little bit like the holiday season. This could be important. On average, Q3 is a bit dull. The main thing we need to look out for over the next couple of months is the interest rate change. But will the money printer turn on? Our focus today is on the data and, more importantly, Bitcoin dominance. Is it time to buy and accumulate altcoins, or is it time just to chill out and wait? We don't really want to make the wrong decision with fresh capital going into altcoins and seeing your Bitcoin valuation drop. That could be a huge problem when you could have just waited. So hello everyone, hope you are good. Like always, leave a like on the video if you want this sort of stuff and subscribe if you're new. Not many subscribers these days because the market is pretty shite. However, first thing we need to worry about more than anything is obviously a lot of sound bites around people talking this week, which is huge, and Thursday incoming CPI data. Let's go a little bit deeper on that one. So the CPI data on the last bit of analysis was really, really strong. We came in much better, certainly core, and in June, the consensus is potentially around 3%. If we look at the core one, this is where the biggest drop happened in the previous one. And we're kind of stuck on the same setting, but that's kind of expected. The consensus was pretty normal and it came in better, which is good. But the decision here might well be because, well, interest rates might change. Now, before we get fully into the nitty gritty of it, we have a holiday. The last one is at the end of this month, and then we have a big period of off time, and then we have another period of somewhat off time. It gets pretty meh in this kind of quarter where everyone's on their jollies, and that's fine, absolutely fine, but ultimately there's only so many meetings per year, and there's a couple of obvious omissions, certainly when you look at the summer period. Q3 for the financial world is a bit shit. So, as you know, I've talked about this before. You can see here in terms of Bitcoin, especially Q3, Ethereum, etc. Q3. Now, again, when you think about it, there's no FOMC. Data will be less laggy. Summer holidays. All that kind of stuff will play into the mind of a lot of people. The problem you have is the investment mindset. Is it the time to buy, or is it time to just wait and see what opportunities present? If there's low liquidity, you may well find that orders drop on your lap, certainly if they're lower. But boomers, essentially, and other people who are now new to the market have been actually buying the dip. Now, it's interesting to note, Bitcoin corrected quite heavily. Things went a little bit awry a couple of days ago, but we have been relatively strong in terms of the data fight back. Bitcoin miners have done well. Cryptocurrency's doing okay in terms of a bit of bounce, but we are still in a downtrend. Don't go away though. I will show you that in the technicals. However, when we look at this half a day, we had a very, very strong day. That was only half a day. That was the day after Independence Day. Huge in a nutshell. Ben Cohen has been talking, and I do agree with this sort of situation. He's basically stated, and so you can read it, that he thinks that Bitcoin dominance will go up around to 60% between September and December, and he thinks that dominance will drop in 2025. I do think this is going to happen. I've talked about it before. I was very much against the 60% mark. I've been saying that 54% would be a very, very sticky point. It has been for a while, and obviously 55%, 56% has been around that benchmark for a while. But the thing that I didn't counterfact in was the factor of the token emissions and how strong Bitcoin would be. However, past has shown us that we do have a big spike up and then a big drop. Fundamentals though, as I've talked about in previous videos, token emissions are huge. Bitcoin has been bought up quite aggressively, certainly with ETFs and companies now. So maybe we do go to 60% and we eventually rotate round. But there's one catalyst what will allow the rotation to go round. Now, before I go too deep, check out my Patreon. I do a Bitcoin only and dominance only video on Friday where I go a little bit deeper on this. But one thing that I've often talked about is a clear breakout and the blue sky breakout of Bitcoin over all-time high, which is obviously here, and into levels of $83,000, $90,000. Now, why am I saying that? Because people get interested. We've already had a taste of that, right? Going back a couple of months ago, we had this massive bout, massive squirt, $35,000 increase in Bitcoin price. People returned to the market. Not loads of people, but enough people to get you worried and thinking, oh my God, here we go. Oh no, left translator cycle. Oh God. That didn't obviously happen. When we talk about dominance, and I'll go in this in more detail, We've still got a bit of running to go, but we are still relatively high. But let's go back a step, because Bitcoin is, at the moment, in a bit of a downtrend. Now, if this is all too much for you guys, I do apologize, but feel free to check out Learning Crypto. Link is in the description. There will be a very big crash offer coming very soon, so subscribe to find out more. We also have a Learning Crypto YouTube channel too. But 3-day time frame below the EMA 21. We're also below the trigger point in terms of the RSI, in terms of being a bearish price action. Now, this is the thing. We are forming a high here into a low, into a lower high, into a new low. That is a downtrend movement. We could well be going up towards $59,000, $58,000 and then continue going lower towards $52,000, $51,000. That is all probability based off technicals, right? That gives you that open question. Should you wait? Well, personally, if I'm going to be a betting person, I would buy levels of support on solid assets that you feel will do well. So what we're going to do here, we're going to flip a little bit. We're going to talk about dominance, and then we're going to flip over to the BTC pairs on a couple of assets to just show you what I mean. So as I alluded to before, dominance is high, and in terms of structure basis, it's not looking good. It's a bit meh. Very, very weak at the tops in terms of like pullbacks, and we've got this level here. Now, I hate doing technical analysis on this because it's all iffy and butsy and all kinds of weird and wonderful stuff. But the reality is here, if Bitcoin surges high and fast and hard because of a bounce and we go towards all-time highs and altcoins do not keep up the pace, this will 100% go up. We are correcting right now with Bitcoin. We're, down 28% from the high to the low? Yeah. What if it bounces 15, 16, 17, 18% and it flies back up towards $65,000 again and altcoins do not return the favor? Well, you got to think of it this way. When the market really started to pop, we went up a couple of percentage very, very quickly. It doesn't take much for this to shoot up a couple of percent and just go right up to these levels. That's a problem that we may have. And I think that's why timing is going to be freaking crucial here. So let's look at some altcoin BTC. Cardano fans, look away. This is pretty bad. Whoopsie. However, fundamentals, not a bad asset, but buy levels of support. This level here, not a bad place to accumulate. Now, this is a big caveat and a non-financial advice disclaimer. What I say could be bollocks, but what I will say this is, probability-wise, dollar cost average on levels of support or solid assets over time isn't a bad thing to do. The problem is, with the BTC pairs, dominance is high. It could go higher. These could go lower. So take what you want from that information. Cardano, not a bad place to buy, realistically, around these levels. Let's be honest here. Look at how much this can go up in the future, potentially if Bitcoin dominance rotates and money moves. Another one is Polkadot. Polkadot actually isn't doing too bad versus quite a lot of things right now. It's trying to change its structure path. It may be a change of character incoming. However, very, very unlikely given the fact that, well, what about if the money dries up a little bit and dilution happens and, most importantly, everyone goes on their holidays? That's the reality here. The problem we have is a lot of assets look like this. Even Ethereum, we are somewhat in a downtrend. Look at this, just gradually getting lower and lower. We're at this high point here, levels of potential resistance. We could go and retest this level or go even lower. Chainlink is at historic levels of support levels from 2023, back in 2022, and even back from 2019 levels, give or take around that point. Huge, I know. But the reality is we're at levels of support. These could go lower. So do you see what I mean in terms of wait or accumulate, wait or accumulate? Well, it depends on the asset, realistically. Near Protocol, covered it a few times, has been doing a very, very good solid year, and it is pulling back very aggressively. But ultimately, would you rather buy at 12,000 associates at the top or around 8,000 or into 6,000 or even into 5,000? It's probably going to go lower. It's creating a bit of a downtrend. Look at the 3-day time frame. It's looking relatively ugly. It's corrected off this point, could go lower into, well, basically this level here. Daily time frame as well. You know, no real change of character here. Just it's looking weak. This could go lower. Solana's kind of the exemption of the rule at the minute. It seems to be bouncing pretty hard, but ultimately, again, it has showed signs of weakness around this point in the past. It could well go lower, so be mindful of this one too. But the main thing we need to look at realistically is the overall trend here. This is a total 2/BTC. We're at levels of resistance right now. This could go back down to these lows. Total 3/BTC, trying to get out of here, but ultimately it might well fail. It's very, very early to state. You need to probably wait a little bit longer, but we are at levels of resistance potentially here. This could be very, very critical to see where we go next. But for me, a lot could happen. Because when you put into context what could happen with the dollar, with policy, this could drop, could mean altcoins go high. However, what about if the data comes in weak? What about if it comes in stronger for the dollar versus everything else? And then everyone panics and sells off a little bit. It doesn't take a lot for stuff like this to react and things go down. It's very, very cyclical. So there we go. What would you rather do? Let me know in the comments. Would you rather wait or accumulate? So as I say, everyone is different. Each asset will look different. Each things will be at support level. Some will be at resistance levels. And I do feel that we are going to see a big surge from Bitcoin at some point. We are correcting, obviously, you can see that. There will be a point where it goes low enough and there will be a bit of volume added to the market and we will pop. And that pop will allow things to run. And then altcoins may struggle to keep up with it. But so far, so good on the bounce. But I need to change the character first.